好，欢迎收看电影娱乐报，我是主持人陈巧玲。本周推荐新片呢，是一部非常特别的定格动画作品，叫做《犬之岛》。整个故事是以一位小男孩为了拯救爱犬，奋不顾身冲撞体制为主题，由欢迎来到布达佩斯大饭店的好莱坞名导魏斯·安德森自编自导，耗时了2年，透过串联13万张照片，创造出拟真的动作，每一幕都是让人目不转睛。不管是手工制作的上千组动画戏偶，或是超过240个以上的拍摄场景，处处都是充满了巧思。接下来电视特辑就带您一睹定格动画幕后的惊奇世界。
The Japanese archipelago, 20 years in the future. Canine saturation has reached epidemic proportions. An outbreak of dog flu rips through the city of Megasaki. Mayor Kobayashi issues emergency orders, calling for a hasty quarantine. Trash Island becomes an exile colony. The Isle of Dogs.
I don't think I can stomach any more of this garbage.
Exactly.
Same here.
Words out of my mouth.
Nobody's giving up around here, and don't you forget it, ever. You're Rex. You're King. You're Duke. You're Boss. I'm Chief. We're a pack of scary, indestructible alpha dogs.
Atari Kobayashi, you heroically hijacked a junior turboprop XJ750 and flew it to the island because of your dog. Darn it. I've got a crush on you.
We get the idea. You're looking for your lost dog Spots. Does anybody know him?
No.
I've lost all of my pride.
Spots, if he's alive, may very well be living even at this moment as a captive prisoner.
Somebody is up to something. Will you help him? The little pilot.
Why should I?
Because he's a 12-year-old boy. Dogs love those.
We'll find him. Wherever he is, if he's alive, we'll find your dog.
It's gonna be a fight!
I wish somebody spoke his language.
Wow.
To the north, a long rickety causeway over a noxious sludge marsh leading to a radioactive landfill polluted by toxic chemical garbage. That's our destination.
Great.
Get ready to jump.
It starts with 2 ideas. I had this idea for some years that I wanted to do a second stop-motion animated film. I'd done one before, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and that I wanted to do one that was dogs. And I had this thought of a group of quote-unquote alpha dogs, all alpha dogs, who are named Chief, Duke, Boss, King, all named alpha dog names, and that they were living on a garbage dump. I don't really know why that I thought that was good, but that was my feeling. And I brought this to Jason Schwartzman and Roman Coppola, my old friends, 2 of my closest friends, and we've worked together before on other stories, and told them, and we started talking about it as something to write together, and we quickly brought in the idea. We had talked before about wanting to do something in Japan, and we sort of smashed these 2 things together. I've spent a bit of time in Japan, but more than my own very limited experiences really in Japan is Japanese movies. That's really the inspiration, and it isn't Japanese movies today. It's Japanese. It's particularly the 50s and 60s. Really, the two greatest inspirations for us. Maybe there's 4. There's Akira Kurosawa. There's Miyazaki. There's Kurosawa and Miyazaki. And then there's Hokusai and Hiroshige, the printmakers. And I think our greatest inspirations are those movies and those pictures.
It's gonna be a fight!
When you're working with puppets like these dogs, it takes a lot of experience to know how to really bring a face to life.
Even if you have the best sets and the best puppets and you're all ready to go, the animator is really the one who has to go behind a black curtain and turn this scene into something that has life and has emotion and has vitality.
We're trying to get a performance out of these lumps of metal and rubber and silicone, and they're inanimate objects, but we have to bring life to them.
I feel like I'm sculpting the performance. It's what kids do when they're playing. I do think of it like moving sculpture, really, you know?
We talked about at a very early stage in the production how the dogs and the humans would actually move and behave.
My process is just to sit and watch the animatic.
Stop licking your wounds!
From the timings and the atmosphere, what Wes is looking for. It's working with those rhythms within the film.
We've got an amazing cast on this production. The animation comes out of that. You get their personality coming out in the style of the dog.
We're listening, Owl. Tell us your message.
The voice gets recorded ahead of time.
Why?
What?
Gets broken down phonetically.
通常の無線設備で通信ができたということで、こうしたパラパラ。
The actual human characters, they've got a replacement face system. All of the faces were handmade, hand sculpted. It takes up a lot of people's skill and craft, but that's exactly what I think Wes wants to see, and I think it does give it a life to it that isn't present in some other stop frame animated films. The dogs themselves are lip sync.
No, you can't ride the pagoda slide.
We physically can open their mouths.
Who told you that dirty lie?
Make their eyes bigger, or they can snarl.
We basically had a database of dog action.
So the animators could have something to base their animation on.
The way they walk can give personality to a character. That's always one of the hardest things to do in animation is a walk. Working with Wes, we started doing labs, which are live-action videos.
He would suggest ideas for movement or gestures or an emotional state that the characters would need to be doing within their performance. And that's where the animatic and the lav all come together, like a little route map for where the animators need to go.
I bite.
It's a struggle just to pull something out of your imagination. So I started filming myself. I saw my animation just became so much better. Just all the subtleties that you put in.
The animators do get cast according to their strengths. You know, some animators are great at getting the nuances of something really, really subtle and getting emotional.
I can hear you.
Other animators are much better at action animation, jumping and running and that kind of thing.
This one has a lot of characters. Once all the dogs explode, the clouds will start to dissipate, and then everything will speed up.
Some people are really good at comedy and timing within comedy. That's a very hard thing to do.
You make me sick.
I've heard people laughing at their own shots because they're animating, and as they go, they just start laughing at what they're seeing, being born as they're doing it.
Sometimes you don't even really know how it's going from their minds through their hands into your movie.
We have this huge stage set up with innumerable sets.
Our movie has pretty much every scene in a different location, so we ended up with over 240 sets in the movie, some that just appear on screen for 3-4 seconds.
Average interior sets can be 6 to 8 meters long, some of the larger ones. I'd say the biggest set's probably 16 meters or something.
Once we have an idea of what we're doing, we had 2 great concept artists. Turlo draws all of his concept art on black paper. He drew a lot of the Trash Island landscapes. Victor drew a lot of concept art for things like the drones, the robot dog. Once we have the artwork we want to make, we had another phase which we made, which is a physical maquette. And we would make these maquettes at the scale that we were going to build.
Build a foam core model of the entire set. And then once drafts were completed, a set gets built. And there are two ways in which sets could get built. One is traditionally what you think of as carpentry and paint and that sort of thing. But then, because so much of it is a trash environment, our set dressing crew, led by Barry Jones, would oftentimes create sets kind of organically.
It can't be too slick or polished. We shoot more real elements and combine them together rather than computer generating a lot of elements. You're shooting real things and you're having to match real things together.
Just trying to find solutions to that from a very die-hard stop frame point of view can be very difficult.
You don't think about it when you see it, but the techniques that were being used were really creative and like, how do I create this feeling?
And you can see in this film in particular such a meticulous attention to detail in creating this world.
A rancid apple core, 2 worm-eaten banana peels, a moldy rice cake, a dried-up pickle, tin of sardine bones.
We actually had to make Japanese newspapers like our graphics department did. And then some of them have to be backed with foil that you can like have them flap in the wind.
It is very, very rare now that you would create anything organic, so smoke, fog, running water, rain, in camera. But I think Wes is very committed to that thing.
For the most part, all of the raw elements of this film, we're trying to build as much of it practically as we can.
How do we create vast seascapes in camera? It's a very, very difficult thing to do. And think about how hard it is to create 3 maelstroms, 3 whirlpools out of cling film. The fire, the waterfall.
You have an idea of what you hope it to be, and then it's 10 times better than that.
欢迎继续回来电影娱乐报。定格动画是所有动画类型风格当中最花时间的类型，因为即使动员了大量人力，一天最多也只能拍出几秒的电影画面。导演魏斯安德森以独特的美学及完美的黄金比例构图闻名，在《犬之岛》里面的每位角色都是经过精心设计的，从粘土、塑形、表情、衣服到每一根毛发，全部都是一丝不苟的追求完美。每一幕呢都像是拆礼物一样充满惊喜，而且呢幕后配音是大咖云集。导演也透露，还在现场片场养了9只的狗狗，从他们的真实表情变化作为灵感的来源。所以接下来的时间就跟着我们一起来欣赏幕后特辑吧。
ここは近未来の日本。囚われた愛犬を探す少年は一人で小型機に乗り込み、ある島に降り立った。行くぞー！そこは隔離されたすべての犬たちが暮らす島、犬ヶ島。
We get the idea. You're looking for your lost dog Spots. Does anybody know him?
No.
I've lost all of my pride.
Spots, if he's alive, may very well be living even at this moment as a captive prisoner.
Somebody is up to something.
Will you help him, the little pilot?
Why should I?
Because he's a 12-year-old boy. Dogs love those.
奴らが僕らに何したか見てみろよ。いい犬だ!
Or somebody spoke his language.
It's gonna be a fight! 破壊してるんだ、あの小僧！こら！なめさせたりするな！
Nobody's giving up around here, and don't you forget it.
ウェス・アンダーソンが日本への愛を込めて送る誰も見たことがないワンダフルアドベンチャー。
Wherever he is, if he's alive, we'll find your dog.
犬ヶ島。
Sit!
Well, I understood that. Sit down.
Every aspect of every puppet has so many different options and choices. There's a process for everything. Really, you're trying to figure out what is going to make the whole world of the movie right, what is right for the story, what is working with the voices, and also what fun can you have with it.
Not the petto!
Andy Gent, he's the boss of everything to do with puppets.
I want my master.
From here at the Puppet Workshop, we're responsible for delivery of puppets, making them, and we've got on this nearly 900 characters, several thousand faces that have been sculpted, moulded, painted, all have been done by hand. The largest number of puppets created by hand, so that's crafted out, that's not using 3D printing for a stop-motion film.
I'm getting confused now.
Working on character design, we'll start to sculpt in plasticine.
The scale of sculpting has been immense compared to anything I've worked on previously. 12 sculptors for an animation in general is unheard of, really.
Once we've got a sculpt in plasticine that gets approved, we'll make a mould of that one.
The mould making is quite important as it picks up all the sculpted detail. 4 different dog scales and 5 different human scales. 200 characters have face replacements.
Then we have building the armatures.
The armature is essentially the moving facility of the puppets. Some animators like the tension to be fluid and loose, and some animators like the tension to be really quite hard. It's specific to each animator.
You can cast the silicone on top of the armatures, which will then give us a skin on our puppet build.
Our job is to paint in the skin, in the mold, and then set the armature in and basically pour some silicone. This is fantastic. It's quite translucent and it's very soft. It gives us loads of nice movements.
Once you've got the silicone on top of it, you can paint it with all of the little bruises and flecks and shrapnel scars on them.
Everything that we do in here is the stuff that gets seen on the screen. Painting the Tracy freckles, copying by eye just with a little paintbrush. 297 freckles on each face. I've actually painted over 22,000 freckles on Tracy alone on this job.
Why'd you do it?
Once it's painted, you can punch the hair in one at a time to cover the head.
We get a needle and take each individual hair and punch it in. Because they're replacement faces and sometimes replacement wigs, we'll have to replicate that exactly on every face and every head.
Or the dogs.
Well, we're using real fibres. They come from sheared animals. Mohair and alpaca. We've probably punched into the millions of individual hairs into these dogs.
Wes really is interested in costume. We've got to find an amazing collection of fabrics. With stop motion, the cloth has to stop for the camera to shoot and then move again.
You need to be able to control the fabric and give it weight. We use sheet lead that we roll really thinly, aluminium wire.
It's like another puppet being built into the costume. And of course, once you've got that, then you're pretty well ready to shoot. It's as simple as that.
Well, I understood that.
We've got many stages to shoot on at the same time, so we have to fit into that cleverly. There's only one Bill Murray.
I was the lead mascot for an undefeated high school baseball team.
And there's only one Scarlett Johansson.
That's none of your business.
So you can only shoot him one at a time, whereas we're trying to shoot 12 at a time on 12 trim sets, and then also in 5 scales.
Wow!
I'm always amazed how each puppet that we make ends up as a beautiful, moving character. It always takes my breath away. I'm infinitely surprised with what the animators can do. It's genuinely magical.
Isle of Dogs is a brainchild of Wes Anderson. And with all of Wes Anderson's films, stories, it's like opening a present and you have no idea what's inside. And you're surprised. You're introduced to worlds that you're not familiar with. And I think that's what great artists do, as Wes is.
The film takes place in 2 very, very different worlds.
The setting is the city of Megasaki, 20 years in the future. The mayor of the city, his cat-loving Kobayashi dynasty has launched a campaign to exile the dogs of the city, and the dogs have all been sent to this garbage dump trash island.
An island made of trash, iron, paper, God knows what all.
Megasaki City is a futuristic city.
What it feels like is a future as seen from the 60s. A lot of colors, a lot of neon, a lot of chaos and noise.
What Megasaki has, which is delightful, is a number of sort of jewel-like interiors, so these beautifully crafted rooms, which are, I think, the deepest homage to the Japanese style. Everything is very studied and coherent in terms of design.
By official decree, Trash Island becomes an exile colony.
すべての犬を追放しろ。ウニ県メガサキシティを守るのだ。
Trash Island is meant to be made up of a number of different sorts of trash.
Wes had this idea that the whole island would be really sorted.
We quickly decided we need to organize the rubbish. Everywhere we are on the island, there's only one kind of trash. So when you go to the next scene, you're in a new trash environment.
Parts of the island are bright white paper, parts of it are rusted cars, parts of it are black TV screens.
The contrast between Megasaki City and Trash Island is also very striking because you keep jumping between this really colorful world and this really barren world. We had to design every little piece of trash on the island. So it's really fun to move through these different worlds that are created by different types of trash.
Trash Island is the old world. Megasaki City is the future.
There's one shot of Megasaki City. You see the cityscape, and we built like 150 buildings for that city, and each one was individually lit, and we had a train going by, and everything, it appears in 2 shots. It's like, doom, doom, and it's gone.
What is this place?
Our set dressing crew, led by Barry Jones, would oftentimes create sets kind of organically and look around for materials, interesting materials, bits of plastic and pieces of metal and things that people would find in their backyard.
It's an invented place, but it's also sort of invented time.
I couldn't have imagined this with the cumulative factor of the vision and the sound and the music and the language and the culture, and it's like opening a present and you have no idea what's inside.
As a dog lover, I see the film as an homage to dogs. First time, I think I was just overwhelmed and in awe of the meticulous detail and the kind of exquisite production design and mise en scène that, to me, is like Wes. And then last night I watched it again, and it's like, you know, it's strangely emotional, like really emotional.
The heart of a dog is a bottomless thing.
As a dog lover, I see the film as an homage to dogs. A dog's capacity for loyalty and compassion.
Dogs have an innate desire to please, and I think humans do too. We want to be accepted, we want to be liked and respected. Barking is their manifestation of desiring love.
Dogs, they're a responsibility to use as a sounding board, as a demonstration of what your obligation is to life.
Thank you.
I love dogs. I think dogs can tell that I like them. They know that I'm interested in them. They know that they could really get a lot out of me.
They absolutely need to be loved. They do things to be loved. Even if it's within their own realm, they could dig up a dead animal and put it on your doorstep thinking, this would be good, my master will like this. I'm bringing a dead animal, who wouldn't want that? I'm protecting the pack, and that will bring me love and respect.
Hey, wait a second.
9 actual dogs were on the set. Their names were Wolfie, Billy, Charlie, Hazel, which is my daughter's name, but she was not there, Choco, Piglet, Treacle, I think we're in England now, Hopka, and Gruff.
Does anybody know him?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. What were they doing? I wonder what real dogs were doing.
Inspiration.
Good boy.
以上呢就是本周新片，每一幕都充满惊喜的定格动画电影《犬之岛》推荐给大家喽。我是巧玲，电影娱乐报，我们下次再见，拜拜。